You have to do 5. So.
All right, Viv, there's nobody on yet, but there we go. We got a couple people now. And we got a bunch coming in over here on Instagram, Viv. You want to say hi to them? Scouty, stop. We got, let's see, Jimmy. Is this Jimmy? Is that Jamie?
Jamie?
Yeah, we got Jamie. We got Laura. We got Cynthia. We got Penguire. If I said that. Yeah, Malto. Mike Malto. Oh, I can't see, Viv. I can't see when you're in the way. And then let's see, who do we got over here? We got some folks coming in over here on YouTube. That's usually a big one. We got Jordy in here. We got Monica. What's happening from Ohio? Monica, you're not far from where we're at here in Buffalo. Oh, depending on where in Ohio you're at. Stop, Viv. You're not. Don't be mean to him. He's 8 years old. He just had a birthday. Hyper. So she was like upstairs begging me to like do this live. Like, are we doing the live? Are we doing the live? We doing the live? We doing the live? We doing the live? I kept asking her, what do you want to do the live on? First, she says, let's talk about cereal. Where's your cereal? Show them. Show everybody your cereal. This is what you want to talk about. So let's count your cereal. How many cereals do you have?
1, 2, 3, 4.
And what are those cereals? What do they look like?
Hot.
It's a little heart Cheerios, because they're supposed to be good for your heart, right? I'd like to see the conclusive data on that one. But Viv, you want to talk about cereal, and then after cereal, Viv, what did you say you want to talk about? What else did you want to talk about?
Money bank.
Money bank. Private.
So you.
Yeah, tell them how to be their own bank.
You be your own bank without making money. So if people don't make money, so you can spend dollars if you don't want to do coins or little dumping.
They can spend dollars if they don't want to use coins. You like rolling coins, though, don't you?
Yeah. So you have to roll coins up and if you get something, okay? I don't know what the rest does.
Well, what did you buy? You rolled a bunch of coins. You counted all your dollars, and what did you buy?
A boat.
A boat. What kind? Not just a boat. What did you buy? An aircraft carrier? Yeah. Oh, UX. You paint off UX. Sorry. Scout is just being an asshole, bro.
Yeah, but they're writing on the wall.
Well, they came out of the wall. All right, sorry about that, folks. But hey, not every day you get to see people fall off the wall. They fell off the wall. I was over here. I have no idea. It is recorded though, so I don't think they can see it. But
you said Scout.
Scout was over there.
Hanging on the wall.
Okay, maybe Scout didn't knock him over. All right. Well, no, he's fine. He's fine. All right. So, well, sorry about the little distraction there. Had the little incident. We hung a bunch of photos in the lounge, and then 2 of them just fell off the wall. I thought the cat knocked them down. What's up, Nicholas? Who else we got? I am E-Dots.
Jimmy, calm down.
Got G Money. Got Super User. What's up, Super User? You're on here a bunch. All right. And I know you're coming to Money Tank, aren't you? All right. Well, we're just waiting for a couple more people to join. All right. So let's talk. Since Vivi was just counting and she was talking about money and how she saves and how she rolls her coins and she bought an aircraft carrier with it and she's being her own bank. The other unique thing is that, down, as she gets older, I'll keep teaching her more and more about money. how to be her bank, how to use her own private banking system to buy the things that she wants. You know, one thing I think that'll be super fun is, you know, we'll go on Private Money Club and we're going to find a deal. Like we'll find a small deal once her policy, you know, has enough money, and then I'll teach her how to be the bank and lend. And then maybe at that point she can start doing some of that. So what's up, Drew? But yeah, those are just things. So let me ask all of you, when did you start learning about money? You know, what age were you when you were starting to learn how money works, starting to learn the importance of savings, starting to learn the importance of, like, when you want things, you had to go out and work for them? Sure. You had to go out and work for them, or you had to save, or, well, technically both. You would work and then you would save money for the things that you wanted to buy. Come on, let's hear some comments. How did everybody, when did you learn? Were you 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old?
What?
We're trying to find out. Yeah, ask them, Viv. One Cheerio, 2 Cheerio, 3 Cheerios, 4 Cheerios, 5 Cheerios, 6 Cheerios. There we go. So Ben Wright official said 8 or 9 years old, but not all lessons were good lessons. Yeah, well, we can all talk to that. I'll tell you a story and, you know, kind of how my mom did it and some of the fond memories I had of like how I used those original savings that I did when I was a kid to buy something. And then I couldn't get what I wanted next unless I sold what I had. So I had to learn the trade game.
Wait,
right?
I'm not doing that.
Not yet, but you will. Eventually, when you don't want toys, you'll sell those toys so you can get new toys, right? Being taught by parents who didn't know any better. Listen, like, that's the story for all of us. You know, our parents, you know, and our parents learned from our grandparents, and our grandparents learned from their parents. And all of them learned from the same source, which is the traditional methods of learning how money works. Which, what do the traditional methods teach you? Unless you go back to the times of the richest man in Babylon, you know, what were we taught about money? Well, since 1913, I guess is where you could originate it. We were taught to work. We were taught to go to school. At school, what were we taught? Calm down. At school, what were we taught? We were taught to get a job, right? We were taught to sit in your chair and obey rules and do what you're told. And then when you got done with school, what did you do? Well, our
2,
great
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Count up to 10. We were then taught to, you know, get out of school, and, you know, our great grandparents were taught to go to work right then and there. They worked, you know, usually they worked around the house, and then they worked either on the farm or they had to get a job right out of school. But then,
Daddy, can you put the Cheerios away so we can count them?
yeah, do you want to go get some of your toys and so you can show them?
No.
You don't? Okay, we're just going to play with the Cheerios. All right. There you go.
1,
Okay, let me finish the story.
2.
And then after that, you know, we learned that if we go to college and get a higher education, we had a better chance of getting a higher paying job. And that was our parents. So if you really think about it, so I'm a Gen X. So my parents were really, I'm not going to say the first generation, but the first real generation that college became incredibly important. And you went to college because that was how you got a job. That's how you got a decent job. And parents started telling their kids, you should go to college. And that's when it kind of all changed. But then what did you learn in college? For the most part, you learned how to get a job, right? You learned how to get a job, do your job, be proficient in a certain skill, work for 20 or 30 years. Now, remember, I'm not talking about now. Work for 20 or 30 years. You'd get a pension. And then when you retired, you would just get a check. Tell me I'm wrong. Look at your parents. Look at your grandparents. For some of you, because I'm a little older, but my parents worked and they stayed at the same job. And my grandparents worked and stayed at the same job for most of their working career because they had health insurance, they had disability insurance in some cases, which I think Dad paid for that. They had a pension that if they just put in their time, did their work, they then got paid a paycheck. And retirement was what they went to work for every single day. And I vividly remember my dad telling me, like, oh gosh, he would go, you're going to snap my neck. You're so strong. Holy crap. So strong. Big hug. Oh, whew. You know, those will never be old. Even though they hurt when you're getting them, like, you know, the only time you'll miss those big bear hugs is when you don't get them anymore. But they, They stayed there and they worked. And then my dad would always be like, I got to work overtime. That was a big deal for my dad. He'd go in overnight. He'd work overtime. My grandpa did the same thing. And my grandpa, my grandma, my uncle's wife, and I mentioned my dad, right? My dad's new wife. All of them worked at the same factory. It's called Harrison Radiator. Then it turned to Delphi. That same factory, all of them got health insurance. All of them got a pension. And all of them put in overtime to get ahead, to buy the things they wanted. That's what we were taught. And then as we go a little bit further down the line, in the 1970s, 401ks came about. Does anyone know why 401ks came about? Oh my gosh, what is this?
Wine.
Look at this. My wife just brought me a giant glass of wine. What is she doing? Prepping me? Whoa. Smells good. Thank you. Viv, I'll see you in a little bit. Thanks for joining. Isn't she so cute? All right. She is hyper, but she is just darn cute. But you know what? I think that's all kids, isn't it? All right. So then 401ks came about. Who can tell me, or who has read the book 501k? Who can tell me who created the 401k? Well, if any of you said Ted Benna, let me check over here on Instagram, see if anyone got that right. Ted Benna, that's the man that created the 401k. There we go. Bin Right Official said, being taught by parents who didn't know any better. I think I already read that one. Ted Benna invented the 401k, and I can't remember the year, 1971, if I'm not mistaken. Memory serves me correct. But then when the government got a hold of it, they made it something that it wasn't to be. If you read the book, or Ted Benna's got a couple things out there, and you can just read a lot of white papers on them, like that isn't what he wanted the 401k to be. The 401k was always meant to be a supplement to your retirement. Like just a little extra. Because remember, in that era, pensions were everything. You got a pension. The company you worked for provided for you. They put X amount in based on the time you served, and based on the time you served and the position you held and lots of other factors, that was to determine your pension. It's a defined benefit plan. We did those when I was a financial advisor. What you do is you determine a predefined benefit, and then you create a funding mechanism or a funding plan so that everybody would meet that benefit. And the company funded these. And when you had a couple of recessions, specifically the Great Recession, which is what broke the back of most pensions, because pensions got greedy. They started taking on a lot of risk, because then if they made better returns, they had to put less money of the company's money into the pension to provide the benefits. Better return, less of a contribution the company would have to put in. So up until then, they were just going nutty. And actually, there was 2 recessions that really broke pensions, if you really think about it. And that would have been the dot-com crash. I remember that. Pensions were very heavily invested in tech. And then tech went poof, and pensions went, uh-oh, restarted. Then they had to put more money in. Their contributions went up. So that was tough for a lot of businesses. A lot of companies then had to break their pensions and had to go to a defined contribution plan, which a defined contribution plan is just as it sounds. It's a contribution by the employee. Very different than a benefit provided by your employer. Everybody understand the difference? Benefit from employer means the employer funds your retirement. That's what our parents and any of you that are around my age or maybe a little older, that's what our parents and our grandparents had. That was just the norm. Then defined contribution plans came in. Now again, Ted Benna, 401ks, supplement. They're just a supplement, just gave you a little more control, let you invest some money into your own bucket of funds, let you take money from your paycheck and put it into the 401k as a supplement. They were never meant to be a primary retirement savings vehicle. Never. Nor was Social Security. Social Security was never meant to be a sole retirement plan. So when defined contribution plans came in, the companies, when they went through that dot-com crash, when they went through the Great Recession, started to realize, holy crap, we cannot sustain these defined benefits. So what they started doing is making the defined benefit only for executives. They started moving a lot of things around. 2008 was kind of the ultimate escape, because there was the pension guarantee fund that bailed out a lot of pensions, including Delphi and Harrison Radiator, if you want. And that pension guarantee fund really got hit hard during the Great Recession, because so many pensions had to restructure. So many pensions had to stop the defined benefit, replace it with the defined contribution with a match. Hence, you had now defined contribution plans becoming the primary retirement savings, but that era was not used to saving. That baby boomer and specifically silent generation, they weren't used to saving for the retirement. Why? Well, because my employer provides me retirement. I put my time in. I give 30 years or 20 years or whatever it is to my employer, and for that I get a retirement. Like, I'll put a little bit over here in this 401k just for some extra money, some rainy day money, some extra money. What 401ks were for. That was what they were. So when 401k defined contribution plans came out, the silent generation didn't put a whole lot of money into them. Okay. Then the baby boomers, they were the first generation to really start embracing defined contribution plans, but they were also the first generation to really realize the decline and the fallout of defined benefit plans. This is how I know I'm getting old. The fact that I literally am not just talking about this because I know how this stuff works because of all my years of doing money and finance and advisory and all that, but because I actually saw this happen. Wow. Freaking. That's a little bit, that's kind of got a hot flash. It's a little bit to really take in. I actually watched this happen. I watched Harrison Radiator blow up their defined benefit plan, replace it with the defined contribution plan. I watched my father and my grandparents. I watched how they had to transition. It was very hard for them. They weren't used to saving, but then they got a match. So that's how the companies did it. Ted Bennett talks about this. Ted Bennett hates what 401ks became. Matter of fact, in chapter 1 of Ted Bennett's book, 501k, he talks about the ultimate Swiss Army knife of the financial world. Anyone know what that is? I'll let you think about that one for a little bit. There we go. Tess. Tess is from Detroit. Tess saw the epicenter of pensions blow up. You did, Tess. You remember that? When Detroit went into bankruptcy, that is the epicenter of the decline and the fallout and the end. Truly, you could almost call that the end of defined benefit plans. Today, the only people that would be on any of these webinars that have a defined benefit pension plan are federal employees, state employees, and that's pretty much it. You're very lucky. Oh, and some highly comped executives would also have a defined benefit. But that defined benefit plan is only for the high-level executives, and there are carve-outs. So those are very unique. So I've set those up, 412E3 plans, all sorts of things like that. I hate that I understand this stuff. So now, here we are, 2025. Defined benefit plans probably don't really exist for most of you. You probably didn't know what it was until you heard this guy whose daughter was kicking his ass talk about it on this Real Money Talk live show that you're watching. You're like, I don't know, I got a 401k. It's done well. I get a match. That's how the companies did it. They did it with a match. That's how they conditioned us to put money into 401ks, to forget about the defined benefit plans, which were really awesome, to then focus on defined contribution plans. We'll give you a match. Oh, and then the government was like, and we'll let you tax deduct the money going in. It will be pre-tax. So in other words, any dollars you put into the 401k, you don't have to pay tax on that. You don't get taxed in your paycheck. So you get those. My dad always got a paper paycheck, and he's always looking at all the deductions. It was almost like every time he got a paycheck, he's looking at all the deductions on it. Many of you probably do the same. They took out this for that. They took out that for that. Holy shit, they're robbing me blind. But that 401k contribution, oh, that money did not get taxed. Woo! And dad got a match. And that company did 4% because they were a safe harbor. So that all that basically means, safe harbor, I don't want to make this complicated, but if you were one of the executives of Harrison, or I'll use Delphi because that's what Harrison Radiator became. And Harrison Radiator made radiators. They still do today, I think, for cars, for GM. That's primarily what they did. It's now owned by GM, Delphi. But they would get a match, and that match would go in. That was like free money. So how they did it, I remember when it started, if dad put a 4% safe contribution into the 401k, the company would match 4%. Then they got tricky. I remember watching this too. Remember the executives, because it's a safe harbor, because it's 4, not 3%, the executives of Delphi were able to put a ton of money into the plan. They could max it out. Okay. So that wasn't being discriminatory because they were giving 4% to the rank and file employees so the executives could max out their 401ks and get all those tax deductible dollars into their retirement accounts because they had the money to do that. So they were maxing them out, and the government and the rules and all that, because it was safe harbor, because they were given 4, not 3. Well, we're giving enough to the employees. Here we'll give them a couple scraps, because they'll literally take this all the way back to like the ancient times, to the times of knights. Like, how is that any different? Give the peasants the scraps. 4%. So employees started putting 4% in. Then Delphi, for my dad, I remember this day, Delphi changed it. It was no longer 4%, dollar for dollar, meaning if I put 4% in, the company gives me 4. It was some type of a thing like, if you get 50 cents on the dollar, so we'll match you 50 cents on the dollar up to 6%. So what did the employee hear there? 6%. That's what they heard. So the employee puts in 6% now, because that's how they max out their free money, the match. 50 cents on the dollar, and then we'll match you up to 6%. So the employee heard 6%. I'm getting 6%. Is the employee getting 6%? If it's 50 cents on the dollar up to 6%, who can do the math for me? How much is that employee getting matched? Is it 6? Oh, it's not, is it? 50 cents on the dollar up to 6%. It's not dollar for dollar up to 6%. It's 50 cents on the dollar up to 6%. There you go. Tess nailed it. 3%. You see how they did this? Tricky. And this, for us, we just think this is normal. This is just normal. This is what we're supposed to be doing. This is so great. This is so fucking great. This is a trap, is what this is. And now, let's come back and let's go back to what I was saying. You got defined contribution plan, what we know of today, 401ks, 403bs, 457s, okay? You put money in, your own money, into the market, into a predetermined basket of shit mutual funds in most cases, like those freedom date funds, target date funds, garbage. But nonetheless, that's all you have to put your money into. It used to be way better, folks. Literally, like when I used to create 401ks back in the 2000s, like they were way better than they are now. We didn't have any of these high fee target date funds that you didn't have to do anything. You actually had to look at it and manage it. And anyway, I'm going down a rabbit hole. So let's go back to that. So you got defined contribution plans. Who's taking the risk? 100% the employee. Now, hold on. Let's see if your thinking caps are on. Let's go back to defined benefit plans, our grandpa's plan, our federal employee plans. Who's taking on the risk? 100% the employer. Do you see this transfer of risk from the employer, the company, to the employee? This all has happened in about a 30-year period of time. In that short period of time, a couple of recessions have broke the back of pensions, have literally made them almost non-existent in normal life. And now we just take all the risk. Now, does everybody have any questions on that? Let me just see some of the comments. We got Trainer Dave. What's up, Dave? Love your program. She's so cute. I'm DNR financial coach. Love that. Ugh, I'm so wish I knew this 20 to 30 years ago. Building a bank to leave for my family trust. Man, I love that. Speaking my language. Yeah, well, you can meet me out in Dallas, Texas, May 8th and 9th for Money Tank. Dave, if you want to come out there, I mean, meet us out there. I think, actually, if I'm not mistaken, this afternoon I goofed. On March Money Madness's webinar, I offered Money Tank tickets. Okay. And the discount code is gone. You guys are the only ones that really heard about the discount code. And I offered it with the discount code. Sean was like, holy crap, Chris, we took that away. Remember that ended. And I'm like, oh crap, it did. I get so used to saying the discounts that I didn't. So I guess this will be the last day that any of you can get Money Tank tickets for Dallas, Texas, that May 8th and 9th. And you can get them $300 off of general admission tickets and $600 off the VIP tickets. So this is it. If you want to do that, it's private money club here. I'm just going to put it down here. And all of you are kind of still doing the math on the match. You're like, oh, let's see, 50 cents on the dollar to 6. What is that? Let me grab my calculator. It's 3% half. Okay. But it's privatemoneyclub.com/money tank and discounts. Let's get it. Drum roll, please. Our early bird, pretty bird. What movie is that from? Pretty bird. I'm just showing my age all over the place tonight. Pretty bird. What movie? Come on, some of you know what movie that is. Pretty bird. Somebody's got to be able to tell me. Dumb and Dumber. You don't remember? Remember the bad guy came in and they forgot their bird when they left to go to Denver to chase after his lover or the girl that had all the money. And remember, they came in, they took the bird, broke its neck, and then they came back and they gave the bird with the broken neck to that little boy who was blind in the wheelchair. You don't remember that? Pretty Bird? Tweety Bird. Was it Tweety Bird? Well, there's Tweety Bird. I thought it was Pretty Bird. Maybe it was Tweety Bird. All right, so let's see. I'm going to come over here to Instagram. Now we're going to take this another step. I just want to get you all thinking about what's going on here right there. No good, thank you. Let's see. No good, thank you. You're welcome, Carrie. All right, so now what I'm going to do, we went through defined benefit, defined contribution, which are pension plans and 401ks for most people, okay? Now, let's talk about the insurance industry, okay? Good old life insurance. Let's talk about that. Who can tell me what life insurance existed back in the 1800s? There was one type of life insurance back in the 18 and early 1900s. Who can tell me what life insurance existed? There's really only one. Who can tell me? Give me a chance to drink some of my wine. Well, if any of you are on it, because I know it's late at night, whole life. It was the only life insurance. They called them endowment policies. There was all sorts of them. And they sold lots of them. Policies like $10,000, $20,000. They were small death benefits just to pay for burial and stuff. And that was because that's all they could afford. Then in roughly late 70s, early 80s, right around the time of defined benefits and defined contribution plans, the insurance companies, term came around somewhere in there too, but the insurance companies developed this product called universal life. It was essentially term insurance that never ended. Okay? Because what's the biggest problem with term insurance? Term insurance, we like it because the premiums are low, and we always think about insurance and premium payments as costs. So term insurance is a pure cost. It's like paying for your car insurance. If you don't crash your car, you don't get any money from the insurance company. Well, with term insurance, if you don't die, nobody gets paid. And it's even better with term insurance. This is awesome. If you don't die in a specific period of time, which the actuaries know you're not going to die unless something miraculous happens, less than 2% of the time that happens, then they'll never have to pay that death benefit. It's a great product. Great product. So they're like, hey, this is so good. Let's create an insurance policy that is built on term insurance because it's so profitable. And let's do it on a yearly renewable term. Every year it gets more expensive. Dude, those people, those actuaries, the people putting together those products, sitting back in that room, coming up with this idea while drinking some wine and some beer, smoking cigars, being like, dude, wait till these idiots see this. They're not even going to know they're getting screwed. Because every year they get older, what happens? Oh, yeah. Cheers. The cost goes up. And if the cost goes up every single year, what's going to happen when they're really close to dying? Actuaries, when are they going to die? 85. Great. They're going to die. How much is the cost of insurance going to be on that renewable term inside that universal life policy at 80, 85? Oh, yeah. There's no way they're going to be able to afford that. No way. Yep. So they're going to lapse those policies. So what, guys, we're going to check this out, all you guys here. Cheers. Yeah, this shit's awesome. We got a product now that we're going to basically put in force. It's going to last, well, we're going to tell them it goes their whole life. It's going to go their whole life till age 100, just like that stupid whole life. But every year inside, we don't even really need to show them this. That cost of insurance is going to keep going up every year they get older. They're not going to know what hit them until they're 80, 85 in a nursing home. They're not even going to remember they had life insurance, and then they're not going to afford it because it's going to get too expensive. And that Social Security, those benefit plans, defined benefits won't be around anymore. They won't have enough money left in their 401k, that defined contribution plan. Yeah, they didn't save enough because none of them save any money. They're not used to saving money. Yeah, and those policies are just going to lapse. But guys, we're going to get those premiums all those years. We get to use that money and invest that money all those years. I know you guys are thinking I'm crazy. I've only had 2 sips of the wine. Just wanted to make sure you guys knew that. Oh, yes. The universal life policy, which back in the day they were called Target Life, they were born. A yearly renewable term insurance embedded into a permanent chassis that went to age 100 in the contract. Oh, and then any extra money above and beyond in those early years when the cost of insurance. Hey, this was Jimmy in that office, in that meeting with the beer and the wine, and they had scotch in there too, and all the cigars where they're trying to create this product. This guy Jimmy was like, "Hey guys, I don't know if they're going to really buy into this, but what if we paid them an interest rate? What if we paid them an interest rate on any extra money that they put in? Let's say they put $200 a month into premium and the cost was only $50. They got an extra $150. Let's let that money earn interest so that they really think they're doing something good in those early years. And that'll illustrate really well until they're, around 80, 85. And that's the only time we care because we don't want those things to lapse 80, 85 because then that's when we'd actually have to pay the death benefit. Guys, so we don't want to pay death benefits, do we? Where's those dumb actuaries? Actuary Bob. Hey, Bob, when are they going to die? 85, right? Okay, you got the brackets. Yeah, just general, man. You don't need to go into all the numbers. I know you got all the numbers. Just you know exactly when we're all going to die. Don't even tell me when I'm going to die. But 85. All right, cool. So we just got to price this thing so when it's 80, when this client's 85, the cost of insurance is too high for them to be able to afford, and all that cash value that they built up in that policy, which is that difference between that low cost of insurance in those young years, and then we'll give them that interest. That all builds up. But then in the later years, guys, when that cost of insurance goes up, it starts to eat away all that cash value. So all that cash value they had in those early years, man, the cost of insurance just eats it all up in the later years. We get that shit back. High five. Yeah. And universal life policies were born. Yeah, and I sold a lot of those. Yes, I did back in those early days. Sold a lot of those universal life policies, but you know what? I didn't just sell a lot of those universal life policies. I watched a lot of families, usually older, elderly people. Specifically one I remember. I know exactly where it's at. I drive by it when I go to the snowboarding hill. It's an old lady. She lived in this farm. Her husband had passed already. She had a policy for her kids. She had like 4 kids. She lived in this little house, dirty house, right off the 219. And in my early years as an advisor, it's tough to make it in the insurance world. So what I would get is I would go out and call on orphan clients that were in danger of lapsing their policy. In other words, clients would get behind in their premiums, and we could, the insurance company could run reports to show where this policy was going to cross over, right? Crossover meaning the cash value would be gone. The cost of insurance would go higher than what the premium was to policy lapse. So I always knew this. So they had programs where like, a year out, 2 years out, 5 years out, these target life policies, we knew they were going to lapse. And if interest rates went lower than what they were when they were initially sold, then the policy was even going to lapse sooner. So I was sent out to talk to these people and tell them the bad news. Hey, this life insurance policy that you took out, that $25,000 death benefit. No, I know it's supposed to last 100, but unfortunately it's going to lapse in 5 years. You see, when you took it out, interest rates were like 5%, and today interest rates are 3%, and they've been 3% for quite a long time. So you're not making 5. You lost all that compounding. The internal cost of insurance has been going up, and the policy just didn't perform like it was supposed to. I'm really sorry, but we got to figure out what to do. So here's your choices. Number one, you can just let it go. You never know. Hey, something could happen. If you passed away during this period of time, they'd pay the death benefit. We just let it go and just know it's going to lapse somewhere around this period of time. Option number 2, today, while you're still ahead, we could double your premium. We go from $200 a month to now $400 a month, and you'll make it an extra 10 years on that. Or we could replace this piece of shit universal life with the old trusted whole life insurance policy. And then hold on. And then the lady perks up. She's very sad, like can't believe this is happening. She perks up. And she's like, wait a second, we're going to replace this with a whole life policy? She said, and I knew the guy's name, the agent. He was a crook. This guy went around and sold these Target universal life policies to everybody, didn't tell them the truth, sold them false pretenses, a ton of lies. I what the hell was the guy's name? I knew his name. And she said his name, but I already knew it because it was on the thing. I'm like, yep, he did that to a lot of people, ma'am. I know. He's no longer with the company. And she's like, well, Chris, I used to have a whole life policy. This Jordy something, whatever. This guy, he came in, he showed me this universal life. He said it was way better than the whole life. It was going to perform better. I was going to have all this money. And he replaced my whole life with this universal life. He said it was going to be better, Chris. And now you want to replace that with this whole life. I'm like, ma'am, we don't really have any options. If we do the whole life, at least you're going to have a $10,000 death benefit for the burial. And your premium will be exactly the same as it was for this $25,000 policy, but it will never, ever lapse. Your cost of insurance in the whole life is level for the rest of your life. Listen, folks, I am literally telling a real story here. I wish I could remember her name. She's probably long gone. I wish I could remember that agent's name. He got pretty much thrown out of the company because he was doing this. So the agent was the bad apple. The universal life policies, yeah, they were built, like I said earlier, they were kind of built to fail, but they didn't all fail because some of them were funded properly. So you could fund it at target. Those are the ones that failed, or you could overfund it. And if you overfunded it and maintained that funding, your policy wouldn't typically lapse until 80, 85. You gotta fight in chance. So you're saying there's a chance. Yeah. But you see, nobody did that because these policies were sold that, hey, you put this money in, you're going to get this interest rate, you're going to have all this money when you retire, and if something happens, you can reduce the premium. Oh, yeah, no big deal. If you need to reduce the premium, you can go down to this level. And if you go down to this level, well, the policy will probably make it till this age, whatever. But yeah, that'll be plenty of time. I just want you to think about what I just said. I want that to sink in. This is very important. I have a very distinct, a very defined place I'm taking you. I want you to think of defined benefit plans and defined contribution plans and think about that. Which one do you want? Of course you want the defined benefit plan. Puts all the risk on the company you work for, not you. But now all you got is a 401k, a defined contribution plan. So we went through that whole cycle. The guy that invented them thinks they're dog shit. He's like, this is not what I invented. And now I took it to the life insurance thing. The only policies that were around back in the day, whole life. Walt Disney World started with a loan from a whole life. Ray Kroc started the Ronald McDonald marketing campaign with a loan from his whole life. And the real estate was partially funded. His initial entry into real estate partially funded with loans from a whole life. The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, what policies did they use? Of course, whole life, because that's all there was. Are you seeing this thing? Now, Universal Life came out in the 80s. And I can't remember the guy's name. Ralph Nader comes to mind. The guy that I think the Pinto or one of the cars, Corvairs, he basically bastardized whole life and told everybody they should do these transparent universal life policies. Look it up. So much facts. I have so much useless information in my head. But I want to go to today, and this is why I want you to pay attention. Do you not understand that the same thing is happening all over again? I am in a front row seat watching this shit happen. And what is happening, I have seen the whole evolution. The whole evolution. The universal lives, the target lives, that old lady, and so many of those older folks that I went out and saw that their target life policies were going to blow up. And I usually replace them with whole life, small whole life policies, $5,000, $10,000 death benefit. That's all these people could afford. And then what came about? Well, after that, this thing called a variable universal life came out, because back then, that's when by term invested difference became popular. See, none of you understand this. This is real stuff. By term invested difference became popular. This is back in the 2000s. So these insurance companies got smart and they said, all right, well, why would we lose the investments? Like, they're buying term from us, but then they're going and investing with Merrill Lynch and all these other investment wirehouses. And why would we lose that? Why don't we just create a vehicle? And now we're back in that room. The guys with the wine, the cigars, the actuaries, all in there. Hey, guys, all right. We've done this before. We're going to do this again. We're going to do this again. That. Cheers. Those target lives, man. How do those things work? Yeah. We haven't had to pay out. Hey, Mr. Actuary, Bobby, how many of those universal life, target life thingamajiggers have we had to pay death benefits on? Really? That low, huh? All right. Cheers to that. Got my bonuses. Woo. All right, so guys, here's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to make a new policy. Yeah, we're going to create this new thing. We're going to take that universal life thingamajigger, but now what we're going to do is we're going to create a separate account, and we're going to blend them together. We're going to take that investment account, but we're going to own all the investments. We're going to control them. Yep. We're going to use our mutual fund families. We're going to sprinkle in some other mutual fund families, but we're going to have agreements with those fund families like Fidelity and Vanguard, T. Rowe Price. We're going to have agreements with these fund families, and those fund families are going to pay us nice kickbacks. We're going to get some commissions on those, and we're going to put those in this offering. We're going to put together a prospectus, and we're just going to smash together a separate account of mutual funds with an annual renewable term insurance policy. And we're going to tell these clients these things are going to last to age 100. They're so flexible. You can put this much in now, and later you can put this much, and they can do that because they can get around the MEC rules because it was all based on the separate account investments. So what have they done now? These actuaries are like, oh, dude, that is brilliant. We literally take all the risk off of ourselves and put it onto the client, because now we're giving them a term insurance policy. I mean, we're maybe going to have 2% risk with that term insurance policy. And we're going to put an investment account to this. So we don't even need to pay them a guaranteed interest rate anymore like those old universal life policies, because we had some risk there. Man, remember when those interest rates went down? Yeah, that was a bit tight for us. We still did well with those. But see, this new creature, the variable universal life, this thing's great. This thing's great because now all the risk is on the client. We got no risk unless they die early, but we already factored that in. We already priced that into that annual renewable term. So now, Bobby, actuary, how many of these things you think will lapse because of market performance? Cool. How many of these you think will lapse because the premiums or the cost of insurance gets higher than the premium and they don't get the market performance? All right. So basically you're saying we just created a monster that probably we won't have to pay any death benefit. Now, I'm not speaking factually here. All right. To the market they go. Chris Noggle, one of the rising young bucks at the company. I'm out there slinging variable universal lives because what did I want? I want to be an advisor. I want to be a financial advisor. Oh, this thing's great. It's like a Roth IRA, but you get a death benefit. Man, Roth IRAs don't have death benefits. It grows tax-free. We got all these mutual funds. Look at this. We got 52 sub-account mutual funds. We can build an awesome portfolio. I'll manage that portfolio because I'm the financial advisor that manages these investments. Yeah, we'll have that death benefit in case something happens to your family. We can use that for some estate planning, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's got all the flexibility. Oh, this thing's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it worked pretty well. I even owned one of them. I bought one of those things. I was so convinced these things were great. Anyone ever wants to see the illustration, I am happy to pull it out of my safe. I no longer own it, but I will show you it. Now, everybody tracking here, right? Everybody's following me, I hope. Trying to make this fun. Now, all of a sudden, 2008 hits, the Great Recession. Markets tank down 30, 40, 50%. The sub-accounts in these investment or these variable universal lives crash out of nowhere. People can't make their premiums, so they lower their premiums to the bare minimums. What happens to the policy, folks? Brent, what happens under that scenario? Sub-account goes negative. You're losing money. All those cash value that was growing in the market is now losing in the market. Your cost of insurance every year is going up. But your advisor or agent, because you had to be licensed to sell these products. You had to be a Series 6 and 63. So you had to be a registered rep to sell these. I'm going to move on to one more in a second. I'm building up to the final fucking finale. And wait till you all hear what I got to say about that. These are variable universal life. We haven't got to the good shit yet. What happens to the policy? Can anyone spell the word? Jordy said lapse. You are right. They lapsed. But then the government stepped in and the regulator stepped in and said, insurance companies, you built a faulty product here. The markets went down. These people are losing their death benefit. You're going to really affect the economy. You're going to affect legacy play. These families aren't going to be able to have generational transfers of wealth, blah, blah, blah. You're going to need to guarantee these policies. You're going to need to put a backstop so these variable universal life policies don't lapse because of the market performance. And the big mutuals, New York Life, Mass Mutual, Northwestern, they did. They backstopped it during 2008, during the Great Recession. My policy would have lapsed. I would have lost everything I put into it. New York Life backstopped it. Now, I will tell you, I never made the money back, even though I kept that policy the entire time and never made that money back. Now, I actually forgot to tell all of you something. This is the best part. From the universal life to the variable universal life, see, these actuaries that built these products were so smart. They're like, hey, guys, we can't actually build these policies and let these clients actually take the money out of the policy. So like if they have a couple good years in these policies and they got all this cash value, we're not going to let them take all that, are we? I mean, we need that money. We need that money in our general account. So why would we let them take that money out? Oh, okay. Bobby, what a great idea. High five, Bobby. Give me it here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yeah, put it there. All right. Bobby, the actuary, came up with this great idea. And I'm making names up. I'm just having fun with this. Bobby's like, so what if we put a surrender charge on them? You know, like we do with those annuities. Let's put a surrender charge on the cash value for the first 10, 12, or whatever years. We'll do different products and different surrender periods. So now, when these people are looking at these policies, they're looking at the cash accumulation value. They're looking at the amount that's actually in the policy's cash value. But then right next to that, we're going to do another column called the surrender value. And the surrender value is the amount of money they can use. So that way, we still control all that money. These guys can't take that money out. We got that money. But yeah, they got the paper showing, hey, they made money, they lost money. They have all sorts of fun with this shit. So you were stuck in the policy. Couldn't even get out if you wanted to. Couldn't replace it with a whole life if you wanted, because you had a surrender charge, just like those universal life policies. Now the VULs, the variable universal life, have those surrender charges too. So it usually took between, I think the shortest was like 8 years back then. Most of them were like 12 years. It took 12 years before you actually could take out your accumulation value because your surrender and your accumulation matched. Does anyone know where I'm going with this? You should all know exactly what the punchline is. Tess, Dexter, somebody, where am I going with this? What came next? 2008 showed the weakness of variable universal life because now when the market went down, you went down with the market and the policy lapsed. Risk to the insurance company because the regulators came in and he said, you dirty bastards. Where's that Bobby asshole who came up with this? You sons of bitches, you built a product that was designed to fail. All right, well, okay. We are going to, all right, guys. Bobby, you got us to some shit there, man. I know you couldn't have seen 2008 coming, but you really fucked us, man. Those regulators came down hard. We got fined out our ass for that. My bonus was nothing this year, man. You don't get any cigars today. We got to create another product, guys. All right, let's put our thinking caps on. How can we create another product that's like that variable universal life, but doesn't have all that risk stuff? Because, you know, we don't want to get in trouble again. Bobby takes a sip of his wine. He's the actuary. He's sitting there thinking, Bobby's really quiet. But Bobby's smart. Bobby says, guys, I got it. I got it. You know, everybody's talking about these indexes these days. Everybody wants to just invest in the index. You know, there's all these stats saying these mutual fund, actively managed mutual funds, they can't even beat the passive indexes. Like, yeah, these guys are spending all this time, bigger fees, and they can't even beat the indexes. So how about this, guys? How about we take that variable universal life? Now what we do is we remove the separate account and we slap a floor of 0 on it. So we tell the client all the great shit about these universal lives, you know, lower premium, more flexibility. In the early years, you can really get ahead because the cost of insurance is low. We don't tell them how expensive it gets in the later years ever. It gets, you know, all this. And now what we're going to do is we're going to let them participate. We're going to let them participate in an index. So if an index goes up, we're going to own the index, guys. Our general account, yeah, we're gonna create these accounts. We're gonna create these indexes, all sorts of them, and we're gonna let these clients participate in these indexes. But you see, here's how we're gonna do it, folks. This work gets complicated. Here's how we're gonna do it. We're not gonna actually invest them in the index because you're like, there's a lot of risk for us if we do that. Because if we give a floor, you know, that's risky. We're gonna use derivatives. Yeah, we're gonna use option contracts. Yep. All right. Now I like where you're at. Now we can control the downside and the upside, and we can do that in a very controlled manner using option strategies. And we're just going to buy derivatives. And the only risk we carry, guys, is the cost of those options. Okay? Cost of those option contracts. All right. So, Bobby, let me get this straight, buddy. Okay. So we're going to keep increasing that cost of insurance so that, you know, the insurance company is protected, because someday when those guys and gals get older, 80, 85, like that thing's going to be too expensive for them to keep, right? Yep. But they can't lose money? Well, Bobby, you said that they can't lose money. Bobby's like, well, they can't lose money on the index. They can't lose money on the investment because they're just participating, guys. They're just participating. They're not actually investing in the index. But you know what's so good about that, guys? Now we got a product that all of our agents can sell. We don't need a financial advisor that's got a Series 663. We don't need registered investment advisors. We don't need any of those guys to sell this. Everybody and their brother with a life insurance license can sell this son of a bitch. Yeah, because it's not an investment vehicle, because it has no risk, because it's got a 0% floor. They're just participating in the investment. Oh, Bobby, I'm listening. What? Keep going, keep going. And then what we're going to do is in the contract, where's our legal guy? Bill. Where's the bill? Where's the attorney? Oh, he's popped up on coke again. Damn it. Well, when he wakes up, you tell that son of a bitch he's got to write a contract for these policies that literally takes all the rights of the client away and gives it all to us. We can change all of this. We can change the crediting rate. We can change the participation rate. We can change the cost of insurance, for crying out loud. If we don't like that the cost of insurance is what it is on that annual renewable term, we'll just increase it. When he wakes up from his drug-induced coma, tell him to write a contract that literally gives us all the control of this policy. But we're going to have our salespeople, all of them. Yeah, Bobby. Good thinking, buddy, because they're not investing in the index. They're just participating. We just let them participate, right? And we give them participation awards. We let them participate up to 10% or 12%. We just let them participate. Or, hey, maybe we'll even do an uncapped one. We'll just charge them more for the uncapped one. But it's really not uncapped because there's still a cap. But hey, in the contract, when dipshit over here wakes back up, like tell him in there that uncapped thing, we can take that away too. Because, we got to hold all the cards here. Welcome to today. Indexed Universal Life. The number one shitbag piece of product that is sold by all the dipshit new advisors because it has the highest commission. Now, I did not mention it. Oh, hey, Bobby, forgot to ask. Bobby, we still using those surrender charges? We are? All right, so they can't even take all the money out, even if they wanted in those early years. We're still controlling the money. We tell them how much they got. We let them participate. We control all the costs when asshole wakes up. But now what we've got is we've got their money. Yeah, because we got a surrender charge on there. Man, Bobby, you are getting a bonus this year. Woo! And then let's get some people out there to create some marketing around this. Slap some fancy dancy names that they call it their own on these things. Put together some brochures that just completely fucking lie to the client. Get some big influencers to back it because we lie to them too and tell them, hey, this thing's better than the whole life. Those whole life things that they're doing, those specially designed whole lives, those IBC policies, those are dog shit. Those are, look at this thing. Look at this. Look at this. Look, come here. Pay attention. Look at this. 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 6.3%. 6.3% participating. You're going to get that. Look at this. Look at this. Look at how much money you're going to have. Don't pay attention to those whole lives. Those are boring. Boring. Cost of insurance level. Dog shit. Those are old. Those are for old people. Those don't. And this is the next best thing. Oh, influencer looks at him and says, oh, wow. Yeah. Holy cow. Holy cow, I've been bamboozled. Those whole life people, those guys doing that IBC, man, they bamboozled me. They told me lies. They told me that this thing was better. This is the best thing for infinite banking. But you just told me this is better. Oh, yeah, it's way better. Look at my brochure. Look, it says this. Oh, yeah, wow, holy cow. Folks, I'm fucking pissed. If you're here, this is about as real talk as you're going to get. You thought I was just teaching you shit. I was taking you on a fucking journey to end here, to let you know the bullshit you're being taken on, the lies you're being told, which they are fucking lies. And I'm telling you that if you are buying IULs, you are fucking your family, because no way in the future those are going to pay out. Guaranteed, because that's what they're built to do, to fail. They're being sold by people ripping commissions, ripping big old commissions, making tons of money. Those people won't be in the business at the time when those policies fail. The insurance company is going to just bail out and be like, hey, the contract, that attorney wrote the contract pretty well. We don't have any risk. That's all on the client. I don't give a crap what any of you say to me. I don't give a crap what your advisor says to me. I know how these work. I know the deep, dark inner circles of how the option contracts are failing because the premiums are going up because everybody jumped on this boat. And because all the people want it, there's a supply and demand. You should understand that there's so much demand for these contracts, which drives the price of these option contracts up. So, now the insurance companies have to pay more for these derivatives. And then when the market goes down, they're not getting these big fancy returns that supposedly you're supposed to be participating in, but you're really not. And then they'd go and change things in the contract. You don't have a fighting chance. You and all the rest of them will lose. I am not giving you a fear tactic here, folks. I had somebody come in today based on something else that's going on with one of the influencers we used to work with that got conned or whatever you want to call bamboozled or lied to, that is now taking the bait, that is now going in and replacing our good, specially designed whole life policies that we designed that will never fail because they never have, because all the risk is on the insurance company in a whole life policy. Let's remember that. No surrender charge in a whole life policy. No. You can use your cash value as long as it's designed to have high early cash value. No cost of insurance increases. No, contractually guaranteed for the whole life. The cost of insurance day one is the same as your cost of insurance day 121. They don't fail because they're there for your whole life. It's right in the name. And these aren't new. They didn't just come out and spawn off of something that failed just so that they had a product to sell, that they could make higher rips, higher commissions, that they could go out there and make the most amount of money because they put all the risk on the client. No. Whole life puts all the risk on the insurance company. The only way a whole life fails is if you fail yourself. This is happening right now. There are 165 of our clients that have what I will argue is one of the best whole life policies they will ever have in their entire life. And they are in danger of a scumbag piece of shit who will not be in the business, who has already gotten sued, who has already gotten cease and desist from states and many people, who is already lying through their teeth in ways that I didn't even know possible. I didn't even know you could get away with that in this industry. I didn't even know there's not a way you get thrown in jail for the things I saw today. But yet it is being done. And this scumbag piece of shit knows he won't be in the business when all these policies blow up. And you know what? There's no way he's stupid enough. He's idiotic enough to not know that what he is selling, what he is doing will fail 100% of the time. Some of you are connecting the dots. Some of you are understanding who this is. Some of you are even the ones who are probably going on this 12-week webinar series, who are going to be conned and lied to and bamboozled to do something stupid that later in your life you will say, I should have, I could have, I would have said no. I should have chosen not to do this. I should have done my research, done my due diligence, but I didn't because I followed blindly the joker, the loser, the scumbag off the fucking cliff. And I lost all the money in my family. My family will never be the same. See, in this journey we're on to building wealth, creating legacies, taking care of our family, providing a better life, more vacations for the loved ones, more time with the loved ones, because that's really all we're doing is just buying our time back. You better really get real with yourself. You better start doing your own due diligence. You better start looking in the mirror and saying, I did my research. I saw the truth. You better stop following the blind off the cliff. Because these are some decisions that many people are going to make. Many people are going to make that later in life they're going to regret. Just like all those folks, those older couples that I had to meet with about those target lives. Those target lives weren't even bad compared to variable universal life and indexed universal life. Do your research, folks. Stop just believing people. Stop just following people because they're a big influencer, because they speak on stages, because Ed Milet and Tony Robbins had them on my podcast. Wake up and realize what is the truth, the real truth, and what is a lie. Facts are pretty easy to find. All the answers lie in history. All the answers today with ChatGPT and AI and Google are right at your little fingertips. Google the name. Google complaints. Google the name of the product that they're doing. Call the insurance company that you're doing with and say, hey, have you ever heard of this thing? Have you ever heard of this person? You haven't. That's funny. Because you know what? I just can't handle it if I don't just sound the warning bells, if I don't do my part to protect people, because, you know, people just can't protect themselves sometimes. Sometimes you just need that person that's just kind of trying to get your back. And they have nothing to gain by it. Nothing at all. It's just an act of kindness that they know the universal laws. And the universal laws are very simple. Help others get what they want, and you will get what you want. Solve other people's problems. Treat other people with respect. Be honest and truthful. Lend a hand. We could go through all night long and recite Bible verses. I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I made a lot of mistakes, and I will make a lot more mistakes. But I am going to tell you this. I'm digging my heels in. I'm not going to just sit around and be like, oh, well, these people are idiots. You know what? Maybe they are. But maybe people just need somebody to watch out for them. Maybe people just need a guardian angel of sorts. I'm not saying I'm a guardian angel, but I know what I know. I know what's going to happen. I know how it's going to happen. And I know how bad it's going to hurt people's families. Now, sometimes I don't like the people. Sometimes the people are nasty to me. Sometimes people say nasty things on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube comments. They know not what they do. They know not what they do. That's all I have to say tonight. The rest of you can put it all together. Some of you have already connected the dots. Some of you will never connect the dots. Some of you will do your own due diligence and find the truth. All I can do is offer it. See everybody tomorrow. Have a good evening.